So I want to start by asking, what does maintaining a coaching presence mean to you? You've got a cheat up here, but in your heart, when you're working with your clients, what would you say maintaining a presence means to you? Anyone want to just raise your hand or shout something out? Yeah, go ahead. Not thinking about who you're going to meet next. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, not thinking about the next question. Go ahead. Being fully connected. Yeah. What else? I saw someone else over here. Did you raise your hand? Right. And someone over here raised your hand, I thought I saw. Oh, yes, hi.
Just trusting that the client knows the answer.
Yes. Great. I love that. So oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to go a different way.
Okay.
Say, understanding what my voice and my strength is and projecting that at all times. That person. So one is a verb and one is a noun, right? So understanding who I am and projecting that at all times.
So being grounded in yourself is what I'm hearing.
And your voice as a coach.
Okay. I might challenge that a little bit. All right. Let's go through it and see. And I'd like to hear from you at the end and see what your position on that is. This is a compilation of what ICF puts together as maintaining presence. And for those of you who are updated on the new core competencies, embodying a coaching mindset is new. And this is where this comes from. That professional enrichment group that we were talking about before is focused on core competencies. So I work to help other coaches maintain best practices in coaching by keeping those in the forefront of our mind. And that's what this is born out of. So a coaching presence, you can see it here. I'm not going to go point by point, but I do have a question. How many of you are uncomfortable with any of the last three? Being confident, working with strong client emotions. So many business coaches or leadership coaches, executive coaches, are not necessarily as comfortable or as trained to be comfortable when your client falls apart on you, right? And sometimes that can make you uncomfortable. Or being comfortable not knowing. What do I mean by that? What do you think I mean by that? Anyone? What is it? Yeah. Trust the process. And very particularly, especially if you have a very clear platform, your client, you feel that you need to bring a service to your client, right? Or you feel like the expert in the room. And then all of a sudden, the client throws something at you that you're not trained for. Uh-oh comes up, right? We get that uh-oh voice. Allowing space for silence, pause, and reflection. How many here are uncomfortable when the session goes quiet? And you can be honest, because sometimes I am. Right, yeah, and you feel the need to kind of fill the void, right? Let me jump in and say something. The work that I provide is based in an approach to psychotherapy that's been adapted to coaching called internal family systems, or parts work. Is anyone familiar? Great, okay, good. So that's the transformational aspect of the work. And the paradigm for IFS is that who we are at our core, who we're born as, has these great 8 characteristics. Now let me ask you as a coach, would it benefit you to have a little more access to these characteristics? Confidence, right? Calmness, compassion. How about some self-compassion? Connectedness with the client. Anybody here think that that might be a nice thing to have? Anybody think that it would not be a good thing to have? But what happens when we're coaching, and just in our lives, when we're growing up, we develop what we call parts. And these are just a sample of some of our parts. Anybody familiar with your inner critic? Anybody not familiar with your inner critic? Because I'd like to get to know you after this. How about your worrier part? How about a part of you that's concerned that the client is not going to be satisfied or get what they came for? How about the judge? or a people pleaser part? Or how about the helper fixer? How many of us came to this work, and you can be honest, it's okay. How many of us came to this work because we have a desire to help or fix? I know I did, right? How about that analyzer part? Because that was my running part. That ever get in your way? Yeah. This is what it's like to be parts-led in your coaching session. She's clearly having a hard time, right? She's completely distracted. Here we go again, right? Complaining that the client is complaining in her own mind, right? Frustrated that the client is not doing the work. Distracted by her own schedule. And timekeeping. What do you think she's missing while she's stuck in her head? She's missing everything, right? She's hearing maybe some things and she's filtering them through her own mind, but she is not really paying attention to the client because she is running her own agenda. Now I'm going to ask you if you have a piece of paper and pen. I know that everybody here should have a handout, and if you don't have a handout, please raise your hand. Looks like everybody does. Good. And if you need a pen, you might also raise your hand. We're going to get to this in a minute. But in the meantime, if you can write this down in your book or wherever you have, whatever writing paper you have to write on, notice, identify, calm, express, and explore. Because that's what we're here to learn. And it is very simple. And it doesn't all have to be done. Because if it was, you'd be taking 15 minutes out of your coaching session to be able to get your head back in the game. So this can be done in a nanosecond without the client even noticing. This is a technique to get you back into presence so you can reconnect and refocus where you need to be, which is on your client. So what do I mean by this? Notice. Notice what's happening with you. You're sitting in your session, you've been connected with the client, and suddenly you're distracted. First, just pay attention to that. Oh, I just lost my focus. In that moment, with that self-awareness, simple as that, you have a choice. I can keep following this thread, or I can come back. What are the persistent thoughts that are getting in your way? Or what are the emotions that are coming up for you? Just be aware. I'm not asking you to analyze. I'm not asking you to really think this hard about it. Just notice. Pay attention, especially if you're on Zoom. You have the opportunity. If you've got your own little box when you're working with your client, I like to keep mine hidden because, then I do get distracted. But if you do keep your box up there, every once in a while, just glance and notice what you're doing. Are you sitting like this? Or are you sitting like this? Are you using a vocal tone that is leading the client or that is soft and open and engaging with the client? Listen to your own phrasing. Are you asking leading questions or are you asking open-ended questions? Because remember that however you're being is being seen by the client. And when we go back, so here the coach is missing what's happening with the client, but don't be fooled for a minute that the client doesn't know that the coach is somehow distracted. He may not know why, but he knows. They know. So we want to have that open, receiving presence for our clients. Uh-oh. Name what's happening in you. This is the second step. And again, you can just notice and come back to presence. You don't need to do this step. But if you're stuck, right? Uh-oh, something's happening. These are some of the many coaching parts that can get in our way. Anybody recognize anything here that might get in your way? I see some head nods. The agenda holder is so important that we keep in mind. The agenda holder is one where, anyone? What is the agenda holder doing? That's our timekeeper. That's good. But no, the agenda holder. Anyone else? What's that? Right. So how about our client comes in, we've set the agenda for the session or for the overarching coaching arrangement. And now the client has gone off over here and we have an uh-oh thought that says, I got to bring them back. And you can do that. We're taught to do that. But what happens when you're holding your own agenda? I have to help or fix them. Or here's a platform that I have that I'm teaching and they're not doing the work. Then we're holding the agenda. We have expectations of the client and we're not with them. So that's just one that I like to point out. There are many here that may resonate with you, so I'm gonna ask you for just to spend a few minutes turning to the person next to you, and if you're next to 2 people, you wanna group up in 3s, however you wanna do this, but just talk for a few minutes about what you know comes up in your sessions. You might think about, who is my most challenging client? What comes up in me? And I want you to write that down on that handout. Just list. You can list by some of these names or whatever feels right for you. You're going to hold on to this. This is going to be on your desk. I have a list of about 20 distractions that come up for me. It's very normal. But this is going to help you be able to regain your presence with your clients. So just turn to the person or a couple of people next to you and just have a quick conversation. 1 more minute, folks. Okay, let's wrap it up. I'd like to hear from some of you what came up for you as you started to really think about some of your more challenging coaching experiences where you have not been connected with your client. Anyone want to share? Yeah.
We talked about the tie-in, kind of some overlap between problem solver, expert, adding value, warrior, a lot of overlap there. And a quick question, we were just wondering, from your standpoint, what is normalizer?
Oh, yeah. What is a normalizer? Anyone want to chime in on that? Anyone have a thought about what the normalizer might be? Yeah.
Somebody who wants to normalize what somebody's feeling, kind of
Right.
get them to get back to maybe just, let's move past that, right?
Right, that's true. Normalize the client's experience. Oh, you're freaking out about this particular thing. Oh, when that happened to me, or I know someone who, or another client. So that gives you a chance to kind of make them feel a little bit not abnormal, right? And be thoughtful about these. There is a place for some of these. There is. But it's all in how you use it. If you're finding that the client is having a tough time and therefore you're having a tough time, and therefore you want to normalize their experience to make you feel a little bit better by making them feel better, that's not the coaching presence you want to be bringing. Do you see? So normalizing, it's not that it's a no, not a hard and fast no, but be very careful about how you use it. Same with sharing experiences, right? So the client is going through something, let's say you're a career coach and the client is going through something that they're challenged in their job and you have had a similar experience. Is it appropriate to share? Anyone have thoughts on that? Is it appropriate to share? It's not a trick question. Yeah. So you just brought something up that I'm curious about. What I'm hoping to accomplish. Can you speak more on that, please? As a coach.
Yeah, that's a good point. It might go back to be like trying to make them feel better.
Okay, so yeah, I'm so sorry. So, I'm sorry, what is your name? Scott. Okay, I'm not going to out you, Scott. But in the process of normalizing, or in the process of sharing your own experience, what Scott said is it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. And I called him out on that. All right, I'm going to call you on that after all. I said I wasn't going to, but I did. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, really. It's what we call a cookie. So as soon as Scott said it, he caught it. Maybe I'm holding my own agenda, right? What am I trying to accomplish for my client? I'm trying to help them feel better. I'm trying to help them progress. As soon as I'm trying to help them do anything other than create their own insights, I have my own agenda. Now, let me be clear on that as well, that if you are the type of coach that has like a 6-session schedule for your clients. You've come into it and said, I'm going to give you X by the time we're done, right? How is that not holding an agenda? Yours. But you also know that that's what the client came to you for. So you're doing it altruistically. You're doing it in the best interest of the client. However, you always want to ask. This is what you came to me for. I see this is where we're going. Would you like to shift in that direction? Let them drive that, right? So that's just something good to kind of keep in the back of your mind. What else came up for you when you're thinking about your clients? Yeah.
We talked about it being an advice giver, and we tied it to, oh, thank you. We tied it to, I know a client that I have that they are all, it's Gen Z and millennials, and I was brought in for a certain purpose, and I know that if I coached the way that I was trained and the way that I was used to, they would drop me in a minute, because these are young leaders that they were the first generation that was really raised on technology, and they're struggling with relationships. They're struggling with connection. They're struggling with just how to lead, not
how to be
manage,
in the world.
but lead. And when they ask, it's hard to respond with a question to say, well, how would you do that?
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. I had a client, if no one minds, I'll share my own. I had a client who was a young person and in her 20s, and she was having some challenges, and she asked me more than once, what should I do? Boy, I'll tell you, this came from that. This was inspired by that, because it is very hard to not get caught in that pull of the client, that fix me, heal me pull. It's very, very easy, because what did we say before? Many, if not all of us, have a helper fixer part that brought us to this work in the first place. Did you want to finish?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you're holding the mic. Anyone else? What came up for you? Yeah.
Mine is also the advice giver.
Okay.
And it's because I have clients who do ask, because, you know, with giving advice is the issue, because they do ask me for it. And, you know, I feel like I am in a dilemma. You know, do I say, well, that'd be a consultant, and if you want my advice, I need to take off my coaching hat. You know, I've heard that before too. So what do you do when
That's
you know
an
they
excellent question.
ask for your advice on what they should do or how they should do it?
That is an excellent question. And I'm going to defer to others here to ask how you might handle that. Does anyone feel like you really got that one down? I'm going to be honest and say, neither do I. That is a very tricky one, because it pulls at our advice giver. It pulls at our expert, as we heard about this morning, right? But maybe put that hat on. What would it be like to be an innovator in that conversation? Let's pull from the keynote from this morning. What would it be like to be an innovator? So before you answer the question, ask yourself, what would I want if I were in their seat? The answer might be I'd want advice. But I agree with you that if you do that, it is very important to take that hat off and let the client know this is not coaching, this is consulting. Yeah.
So one thing that I do that I find very helpful is when they say, well, what would you do? And I would pause for a moment and I would say, let's say that you're sitting at work and one of your colleagues or a good friend come to you with the same scenario and the same, what would you do? What would you tell them?
I love that. Everybody heard that? Turn the question back around. The reason I don't want to answer the question is because if I do, I'm doing exactly what we're talking about. Did any of these that you came up with surprise you? All right, so you're all pretty onto yourself. going to invite us now to do a little calming. We've had a lot of energy this weekend already, or this week already, right? High energy speakers, a lot of expectations on ourselves to be better. And I'm going to invite you, if it's comfortable for you, to just relax in your chair. Is everybody okay if we do, you don't have to call it meditation. It's fine if you don't want to call it that. I like to use that word, but whatever works for you. We're going to bring some mindfulness into this experience. So if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes or soften your gaze, notice what's happening in your body right now. Notice where you're feeling anxious or tense. Notice if you have a timekeeper that's thinking about the next session or the last session, or thinking about the rest of the weekend. Notice if you have a judge. Notice if you have an inner critic. Notice where you're experiencing whatever you're experiencing in or around your body. Is my mind racing? Am I nervous? Is my chest hurting? Is my stomach hungry? Just notice what's happening in you. And as you stay aware of what's happening, I want you to take a calming breath and breathe into that part of your body. Feel what it feels like to imagine that breath going right there. And as you stay present, imagine what it feels like to ask that part of you to soften back. Ask it to give you a little space in your system. With some spaciousness comes openness, and with openness comes presence. And it doesn't take much. Come on back. Did anyone feel a little openness in yourself with just a breath? It's such a simple way when you're working with clients. Remember I said it only takes a nanosecond. Notice what's happening. I've gotten distracted. Name it if you need to. I've got my sheet in front of me. I know that. When I do that, I look at my sheet. It's a little card about this big, and there are, as I said, about 20 things on there. Oh, that's my timekeeper. As soon as I say it, I'm back. Just to myself. If I really feel distracted, I take a breath. Oh, sorry. I take a deep breath. The client doesn't have to see it. And I'm able to recenter. If you really are stuck and you cannot bring yourself back, sometimes you're distracted by your timer going off. Sometimes you get a text. That timing was impeccable. Sometimes you get a text by your child who's like, I'm running to the mall with blah, blah, blah. And you're like, right? Sometimes the dog has to go out. If you cannot come back quickly, let the client know, guess what? I'm human. Maybe not in those words. But that's one of the core competencies of ICF, is being present with our client and letting them know that we're people too. Remember, we do not have this kind of relationship as a coach. We have this kind. There's nothing wrong with them knowing you're a person and you have your own needs. And if that just means don't spend time there, but simply, I need to take a quick break. I need to let the dog out. Or would you mind if I just run to the bathroom? I'll be right back, right? Or something's happening. You get triggered. I had a client once who's a coach who was coaching someone else. And they were moving, and as it turned out that the coach was moving. And once the client started talking about their move, it triggered the coach. And she got very tempted to jump in and talk about her own experience because she was so pulled into the client's experience. This is where you can say, I'd like to share something with you because this is very similar to me too. I'm going through something on my own. But be very thoughtful about how you do that. If you need to speak it or you think it would benefit the client, again, kind of that normalizing, it's okay, but just do it briefly and be thoughtful. Because it's very easy to actually pull a client into your vortex. If you need to pause and take a breath, if your client is up here and you're coming up here too, and you feel it to be valuable, ask if they wouldn't mind just taking a breath with you. That's all it takes sometimes. And finally, if you need to, do some work on your own. If you're finding that, I gave this presentation one time and a coach said, I find that I'm bored in all of my sessions. What does that say? Maybe you're not practicing the right kind of coaching. Do some exploration on your part. This is not just about us giving a service. This is about us being in service. And we can't be in service if we need that kind of help ourselves. And this is another core competency. Do some work on you so that you can be in the best service to the client. If that means journaling, if that means picking up your own meditative practice, and there are resources on that sheet that I gave you for a free meditation that I absolutely love and recommend to all of my clients. Talk with a friend, talk with a coach, talk with a therapist. Do not be afraid to be the best you that you can in service to your client and in service to yourself. Resources are on that sheet that I gave you, and I'd love to open this up for questions. Yeah.
Thank you. As I was listening to you, I was thinking if this framework is something that we can use with our clients as well.
If it feels appropriate, absolutely.
Okay, and I have another question. How do you see parallel process when we speak about being present or distracted? Like if it's happening to us, it might be happening to the client as well in the coaching relationship. What do you think about it?
So in internal family systems, I was trained as a coach in internal family systems. And I'm not sure if this is going to answer your question, but I'm going to give it a shot. In IFS, if you're able to maintain that self-energy, those great 8 C's that we saw in the beginning, you can facilitate that in your client. Have you ever noticed that when you are more self-compassionate or more comfortable in your shoes, the people who you're talking with become more comfortable in theirs? So in IFS, we talk about how self begets self. And then when self is helping self, when that part of us is facilitating that in the client, we raise the energy. Does that answer your question? And then what's open for them is self-healing, is insights beyond the imagination, which is why I love this work. I'm not here to tout it, but I will tell you it is extremely transformative. So if anyone is interested in learning more about IFS and how you can incorporate that into your own work, please see me afterward, or you have contact information for me. I also want to offer, if anyone wants to try this out, please contact me. My contact is here, and I'm offering a complimentary session for those of you who are here to get more comfortable, more familiar, more aware of your coaching parts, to make it a lot easier to shift out and back into self-energy. Any other questions? Yeah.
I got confused when you said
Yeah, internal family systems.
Can you pull that slide back?
This one?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the second question was, thank you. And my second question was on that list of meditation and journaling, et cetera, et cetera. Do you hold a personal practice of what you do every day to prepare yourself? And what would that be if you do have one?
I do practice mindfulness on a very regular basis. Honestly, the thing that I do most that's most effective for me is keeping that little sheet handy of those parts, which is why that exercise that you did, and convert that to your own little sheet, a Post-it, but keep it handy. So when you shift out, you can quickly identify what's happening and come back to presence. Did that answer your question?
It did, thank
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else? Yeah.
Next one, sorry. And next one. Thank
Would you like
So-
the clicker?
Do you mind if I do the presentation?
Come on up.
So I think these are great. Self-awareness as a coach, as I'm in the moment and I'm present in the coaching. What's your advice for being aware of these, but not getting so hung up on them that the wheels start turning and get in the way of coaching?
Be aware of them, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, if you are getting hung up on them, go to the second E, explore. Yeah, is that it for us? That's it. Okay, folks, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.